coffee on it.
Okay. I might take that. I brought I got pockets full of lollipops, but I might, well,
They're pretty stout. You want to spit them out before you're done because they get hot.
Okay, I have 7 o'clock. I'd like to call the December 14th Shelby County Board meeting to order. We'll start out with the Pledge of Allegiance, followed by the prayer.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Dear Heavenly Father, I thank you for this day and for the freedom that we have to gather here without fear. And I ask that you would oversee the decisions that are made here tonight. I ask that where we have wronged you or others, that you would extend grace to us and that we would be able to extend grace to others as well. Please set our paths straight tonight, help our decision making, give us wisdom and humility and clarity. And I ask that your will would be done and that you would be honored in all that we say and do here tonight. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Roll call, please.
Mark Hanley.
Yes.
Mark Bennett.
Here.
Teresa Bank.
Here.
Cody Brands. Tim Brown.
Here.
Carol Cole. Charles Davis. Julie Edwards.
Here.
Martha Fernhaber. Clay Hardy.
Here.
Annette Martin. Tad Mayhall.
here,
Keith McCormick.
here,
Tim Morse.
here,
Lori Nelson.
Present.
Bobby Orman.
Here.
Sonny Ross.
Here.
Mitchell Sheff. Don Tate. Brett Wallace.
here.
Jeremy Williams.
Present.
We have a quorum.
We have a quorum. Item 3 is approval of the minutes from the November 9th, 23 regular meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Lori makes the motion to approve. Is there a second? Keith makes the second to approve the minutes. Is there any discussion on the minutes? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 4 is approval of the minutes from the November 27th special meeting. Is there a motion to approve? Don Tate makes the motion to approve. Mark Bennett seconds the motion. Any discussion on the minutes of the special meeting? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
Aye.
Lori is a nay. Motion carries. At this time, I was made aware that there's some bills to be paid in the claims. I do see Levon here. Is it correct that there's some help?
Yes,
Some that would have to do with your department?
yes. The Finance Committee did not receive the claims. They apparently got attached to a folder that did not make it to the Finance Committee. So Jessica sent out those claims yesterday, so the Finance Committee isn't able to look them over. But we also had some questions, and part of it we think is actually just typos. So if you don't mind, we have $36,500 for community services, actually client services, and it says January, February, and March of 24. Levon, if you could tell me, is this for the first 3 months of the year, or is this
That
quarter?
should have been, there should be, it's 36.5 for each of those 3 months. There should have been 3 claims instead of just 1.
So should this have been January, April, and July?
No, it's January, February, March. We pay that every month.
$36,500
Yes, we
every
do.
month.
Yes. And I mean, I signed them, but maybe I didn't send them over, so I don't know if she just didn't send them correctly or what?
Well, I knew you were here, so I wanted to jump to it, so
Yeah.
if you needed to, if you were wanting to leave or whatever, I wanted to jump to it for clarification, so we got to approval of the claims,
Right.
we could just get right
Okay,
through it.
there should have been one for each month. That's usually the way we do it. And the executive director has not been available, so the staff, office staff is doing it. And so that may be what the confusion is.
On the actual claim that you signed here, and I
Yeah.
think it's a typo, it says January 24, February 24, and then it says March 23.
Oh, it should be 24 for all three of them. We already took care of March 23.
Okay. Is this, there's no invoice for this?
No, this is what the 708 Mental Health Board gives to community services every month.
Okay. I might ask if either Don or Sonny had a question on that before I move to the next one.
No, the information I had was that 36,000 was a quarterly payment. It's not, it's a monthly payment. Okay.
Okay. On the next one, this, I guess to kind of clear the situation, we wanted to know, do we rent buildings?
I'm sorry, that's the other board. 708 board has nothing to do with properties.
Okay, so,
That's the other board.
okay, so I'll skip, I'll come back to that in a minute, because the next item on here is the abuse services,
Yes,
and I think again it's a typo.
it's the same thing. Yes,
Because it says February of 24, then it says February again of
Okay.
25.
Yeah, it's wrong.
Okay.
Do you want me to have corrected ones sent to you?
Okay.
That might help Erica with her too, or whoever writes the checks.
Yeah, that says 25, but then,
Okay.
Okay, the next item has to do with the bathroom upgrade.
Yes?
Is this on a rented building?
No, it's on their pavilion that they have south of the facility, and it has, the bathrooms are in really bad shape, and they have to be ADA compliant, and so it's a major overhaul. It's really an old facility,
Okay.
so it's all repair.
Is there any buildings that community services does rent?
See, I don't handle that. That's not, 708 has nothing to do with that. So
Okay.
that's the other board. So I can't tell you what they do. I have no clue.
The other, on the bathroom upgrade,
Yes?
the sheet says estimate, and the last paragraph at the bottom leaves it very open-ended. So it's not a,
It's his bid. He called it an estimate.
but it leaves room to completely change at the bottom of it. So our concern was that this is just an outline. This is not an actual cost for the expenses.
Okay, I thought it was, but
To read it, I will just read part of the paragraph. Not included in this quote or quotation is the cost of any unforeseeable time or expenses to replace, repair, install any non-specifically outlined in the scope
well,
of
you
work.
have to realize, anytime you work on an old building, when you touch anything, what are you going to find underneath? I mean, there's no way that we would know until he actually gets into the work.
But this is a claim as a bill, so the work's been done?
No, the work has not been done, but they want money up front.
Okay.
Most of the places we're dealing with now want money up front, large sums, usually at least half. So we feel like we need to have money on hand.
Okay.
And the
Since we only pay once a month, some of these people don't want to wait a whole month.
And even though it's it's not written out here, the assumption is that the 50% upon approval of this would be half of the 23,400. Okay. Computers, and I know we upgrade computers. The biggest question was, why so many? And this may be something that's spread way out a lot further than our committee understands.
Are you talking about for community services? They have a lot of computers,
Okay,
not just office, but.
right, there's 39 towers and 12 laptops, and we're not in your shoes to see everything.
It's a pretty big facility, so, and the greenhouse has to have it, so it's not just what's in the building.
Does this also include like computers up at Finley, that facility there?
I would have to look at the specs, I'm not sure.
Just trying to,
Yeah.
it's a
The
large
computer
number.
system they have is extremely old. So,
Would you happen to know how many units they're replacing?
I think they're replacing all of them.
So those numbers probably match what's on the end?
Yes.
Okay.
Most of the dollar figure involved, was that bid?
Yes, it was.
Did we by chance get any other bids? Or
No.
was it put out for bid?
That's been a problem that we've been having, bidding all these projects. A lot of times we're not getting two bids, even though we tried.
But they had tried to get,
Yes, yes, sir. I stressed to them that the county would expect two bids. So, they tried.
Don, would you have any other questions?
Where is the detection security stuff? Where is that, one of your buildings or?
Yes. We have to have it on our doors because of our clients.
Okay.
So this is probably at the main facility?
Well, it would be at the houses too.
Okay, any other questions in the approval of the claims before we get to the approval of claims later on?
Anybody else on the finance committee?
So basically, the only thing on that bathroom upgrade bill, the only thing we owe is half of it, correct?
Yes.
So those bills are going to be included tonight in the approval of the claims?
We will amend the approval in front of the full board.
To include?
Yes.
I couldn't count where I just replied.
I said we amend the claims to include these.
Okay,
Thank you.
so moving on to item 5 is on the agenda, it says Michael Tappendorf, but he is in a training currently, so Tim, would you like to take the floor on the engineer report?
Michael's not here tonight, he's at Bridge certification training. But the first item we got is the old 1997 Caterpillar excavator. Thanks to you buying us a new, or I should say newer excavator, we now have the old excavator. We'd like to make a declaration to put it into surplus equipment and put it up for sale. So if somebody would entertain or make a motion.
So moved.
Jeremy makes a motion to surplus the, I've got Tim Morse on the second. Is there any discussion on the surplus of the excavator? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Move on, please.
Just for clarification, I should have included the 54-inch excavating bucket and the old 18-inch excavating bucket. I don't know if there's any highway department guys here tonight. It's my understanding that the old buckets don't fit the new excavator, so since I didn't include it with the excavator, could we have a motion to also add the buckets to surplus?
I got a question, Jim. Are we going to split them out separately as a bid, or are they gonna go with that excavator?
I really don't know.
And-
We're just making them surplus equipment
Right,
right now.
I just wanted
So I had Cody on, or Clay on the motion. Is there a second to surplus the buckets? Brent makes a second to surplus the buckets. Any discussion on surplusing? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. That's on the surplus of the buckets.
Next item on here is 50/50 petition for Lakewood Township. Lakewood Township came to the Highway Department today and explained that they've already taken care of this, so therefore I'm going to skip over the Lakewood Township 50/50 petition and move on to the resolution for the Herborn Bridge. Back when Alan Spessard was engineer, he designated approximately $120,000 to be spent on replacing the Herborn Bridge. We've since got a cost estimate that's going to cost about $265,000 to complete the Herborn Bridge. What this resolution does is it takes the balance, which $150,000 or so, and it pulls that out of motor fuel tax money. It's actually, more specifically, motor fuel tax rebuild Illinois money, to earmark that money for the Herborn Bridge. Another thing I'd like to point out about this money is that it's use it or lose it money. So we have to use it on something or we lose the money. So what we're not asking for any money, we're just asking to take motor fuel tax money and to designate it for the Herborn Bridge project. So if I could have a motion.
East makes the motion. Don seconds the motion. Any discussion?
Has this bridge has all been bid and everything, hasn't it? The project, because didn't we pass a resolution or something here a meeting or so ago that on that is supposed to start next spring?
Yeah, it seemed to me like we did. Yeah, we did, we passed something on that three-sided embankment. So this is in addition to,
If it helps us pay for it, I assume, based on what we set aside for before and now that we found out it cost us more.
I don't know if we found out it's costing us more, Don. It's just that the former engineer, Alan Spessard, did set aside $120,000 for the bridge. And in order to go ahead and complete the project, we need a certain amount more.
Understand?
Okay.
any other questions, comments? I'm going to call the roll call vote on this.
Was
Clark?
there an exact, sorry, I'm sorry, was there an exact dollar amount?
No, but it's it's the
You said
difference.
about 150,000.
Ted, I got to admit, I had that paper and I left it at home.
There's 155 and some change, I remember.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
Is that in our reading, wasn't it?
Nope, I found out about it at 4 o'clock on Tuesday.
Is this something we can wait till we see the actual number, or do we have to vote on it tonight?
Just a minute, my bad.
We can probably bring it up on our agenda.
Clerk is saying it's not in anybody's read-ahead material because she didn't get it till too late, so.
Yeah, I got it. I think it's in there, but I'll have to see.
Does the township contribute to any of this? Or is it all coming out of the county money?
I think we've done a 50/50 petitions on this one.
Back when we first did it, didn't?
I don't think so.
I'm not finding it right now.
Yeah, it's not on there, the amount's not on the agenda paperwork
155 and 178 or in that range, but I can't recall them triple numbers.
I'll make a motion to table the resolution for the Herburn Bridge until we can have the information.
What information do you need, sir?
The dollar amount?
I think Mitch just gave it to you.
Well, we've got, I
It's an
think,
estimate.
and hopefully, and kind of close to.
Sonny made the motion to table. Is there a second? Failure to second. Failure to get a second is a failure to table. So I'll call Tab.
Make an amendment to the motion to up to $156,000 of additional funding.
So there's a motion to amend the original main motion to include up to $156,000 of additional funding.
Second.
Uh,
Mitchell.
Mitch seconds that. I have a motion and a second. Any discussion on the up to amount, 156,000. Hearing none, roll call vote, please. This is on the amendment.
Clark Amling,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes. Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Ted Mayhall,
Yes.
Keith McCormick,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Orman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Mitchell Sheff,
Yep.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brent Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Motion passes, so we'll go back to the original main motion. The resolution as amended, that was properly made and seconded. Any discussion on the main motion now? So the main motion is passing resolution with a addition of $156,000 up to $156,000. With that, I will call roll call again.
Clark Amling,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Ted Mayhall,
Yes.
Keith McCormick,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Orman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Mitchell Sheff, Don Tate,
Yes.
Brent Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Thank you. Item 6 is discussion and vote to approve the MyTech Managed Services contract for FY '24. Has everybody had a chance to take a look at the contracts? Is there a motion to approve the contracts?
So moved.
Jeremy makes a motion. Is there a second? Brent makes a second. Any discussion on the contracts? We do have, I saw Dave come in.
Yeah, I'm here to
Dave, is there any comment that you would like to make on behalf of MyTech?
Just included in that contract is also a disclaimer for some users that are not covered. That needs to be signed as well.
Any other questions, comments, concerns? Teresa?
I take it that that's the ones for the judge and stuff that are not included?
Correct. Judges,
Is our cyber insurance any good if they are not
I
covered?
can't answer that question. I would guess no, but I can't answer that question definitively. There's roughly 9 machines that are not covered. 4 in the judge's chambers, in the courtroom, and 5 in the state's attorney's office.
Any other questions? Ted?
Yeah, more just to your point, so last month Gallagher was here discussing services that we're not necessarily taking advantage of. One of those was in the realm as far as the cyber protection. Have you reached out to them at all to see what additional services they offer? Threat protection, threat assessment?
I have not, no. I'm not in charge of the insurance for the county, so no, I have not done that.
That's really more on our end of things. Yeah, through CERMA.
I
and
can,
Gallagher and all that, so yeah.
Mr. Chairman,
Jeremy?
I can tell you that legislative has been approached by Mr. Smith with CERMA, and we are looking into the other coverages and protections that they offer, so.
Yeah, I guess to that point, to the point made about 9 systems not being, or possibly being open, is maybe sooner than later for them to give us a threat assessment of what that looks like would be great.
Any other questions, discussion? Hearing none, roll call please to accept the service contracts for FY24.
Clark Amley,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
No.
Teresa Bain,
No.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall,
No.
Keith McCormick,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
No.
Bobby Orman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
No.
Mitchell Sheff,
No.
Don Tate,
No.
Brent Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Okay, motion passes 9 ayes, 7 nays.
All right. Moving on to item 7, which is the discussion vote on the resolution which you all have in front of you to recall the use of the photo option from the electronic timekeeping equipment. That resolution reads as follows. A resolution to eliminate the photo option with electronic timekeeping equipment, whereas the legislative committee recommended the county board pass. The legislative committee recommended and the full board passed a timekeeping policy and utilizes electronic timekeeping, and whereas members of both the county board and employees of the county were unaware of the use of the photo being taken during the clock in and clock out process, and whereas the photo option has caused concern to dissatisfied employees, now therefore it is hereby resolved by members of the Shelby County Board that the use of the photo option will no longer be implemented in the electronic timekeeping system to the Shelby County employees. Is there a motion to pass the resolution? Tad makes the motion to pass the resolution. Julie seconds the motion. Any discussion on this? Brent?
What's the problem?
So the problem arose when there was concerns over biometric data being collected, that it was against any sort of policy and statutes. And it has actually been determined that we're not collecting biometric data. It's just a photo that goes with the tag of the clock in feature or clock out. So that was one concern. Is there any other concerns that was about that good?
I can elaborate on that one a little bit, Mr. Chairman.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
The statutory citation is 740 ILCS 14/10. It includes definitions, and biometric information does not include things like photographs. So that's statutory, that's in the law. Trying to think how to approach this. I'll just lay some things out there. I don't really, as far as the photography is concerned, I don't really have a dog in the fight. Okay, I just want to be clear about that. There's been a lot of payroll issues in the county for quite a while, And legislative saw concerns and needs and also saw a solution. One reason for the photography was to eliminate the possibility of someone doing something to someone else's time. Hypothetical situation, Tim's running late to work, and he calls me and says, "Hey, will you clock me in?" No, I won't do that. It's going to take a picture, and it's going to know it's me and not Tim. I want to leave an hour early from work. Tim, will you clock me out at 4? I'm going to leave at 3. No. One, the union contracts, I think both union contracts require an accurate daily record, and that is defined as to the minute. And so those kinds of activities that would fall under an ethically questionable category would be avoided by this. If there's any concern, the photography proves who did what. And so if, again, I'll use Tim as an example. If Tim and I don't like each other and we go messing with each other's stuff on the time clock, it can be proven who's doing what. And so there's no question as to whether or not he's messing with my stuff or I'm messing with his. This would eliminate through provability any activity like that. That's just a couple of the advantages of having this.
Well, I think one of the things that really needs to be hit on though is, say you two were disgruntled and you went and clocked him out at 10 o'clock and then back to the office. It's proof that he didn't clock out and then stay or leave, or he had nothing to do with that punch. You know, and your numbers is specific to you, but if somebody happened to get a hold of that number, they could punch the number in, and then there's no any different. So, it's like some.
Where's that photograph stored, housed, kept, and for how long?
So it's stored in the department head portion of, so each department head has basically a web front that is their department only. So each one of their employees would have a clock log, and they would only be the department head would only be able to access their specific employees. The only other person that could is HR. That's stored right here, basically, correct?
Oh, it's in the cloud. It's not here. Okay.
But it's stored here on our database. Mark?
I might point out that there's cameras around the courthouse all the time, and people are being videotaped, and a lot of times that is stored, and that's not meant for anything damaging, so it's, I don't think it's any type of invasion. I think it follows along guidelines with which Jeremy showed.
Difference is, we were all sent the image of what the screen said, and it did say biometric data could be collected and stored. It was on the disclaimer. Employees had to acknowledge that they were okay with it.
I saw that too. And I think that's what caused the confusion, is that disclaimer's there, but it's not actually happening.
There are places that use like a retina scan or a thumbprint or something. That would be, or facial recognition technology. That would be biometric data. And that company can probably hook up something like that if we wanted to, and if it were permissible under the law. So that disclaimer is going to show up there, despite the fact that we're not doing any of that. It's probably just an automatic thing that comes up on the screen.
Yeah, so if the employee was using their eyeball as a retina scan or their entire face as their key card, then that would be biometric data. But they're using I assume like an employee number to punch in and then go on. So, any other questions, comments?
Yeah, since it's a feature that can be turned off and on, the employees aren't very turned on about it. I really don't understand why we got to be so, why we have to take pictures of people all the time. I mean, it's not like these people are making weapons. And, you know, this is a community. We know these people. If there gets to be a big rash, a big problem with people doing this, maybe it would be warranted. But I just don't see why we need to take pictures of people as they're coming into work. And I also understood that there was some people that was their photographs was being taken. Well, there's some juveniles in the back that was their pictures also got in that too. Is that correct? Did I hear that right? I heard some people.
We remedied that. There's a partition we could put up right behind the clock, and it would remedy that problem.
It's just a little weird. We got to take pictures of people. If we have a big problem with security and stuff, I just don't see the need for it. But you know, I'm not here every day, but it just seems a little over the top to me.
I agree with you. If you got a problem, deal with it. And if it upsets the employees, it's not worth it, to me. That's my opinion.
Any other questions, comments? No.
Well, the resolution that we're trying to pass would eliminate taking the photo, is that correct?
Yes. So board, when we passed the policy to use the time clocks, we created a policy, we created an action, so we're going to take and remove part of that. So it needs to be through board action that we do that.
So there would be 0 photographs taken at that,
Right.
with this resolution passed.
And every time somebody punches in and out, it's verified because they won't be asked the question of that disclaimer. So if the option's turned on, that disclaimer pops up. So, what's that?
Only once and they have to accept it and then it doesn't again.
It doesn't after that?
Once they accept, it only does it one time and then after, it doesn't ask it every time.
Oh, okay.
That's one more question. Is there any way to verify that person other than a picture?
Don't they all have separate log-ons?
Employee ID number.
Well,
Yes.
Employee ID number. That's what I was wondering. If they had a password they had to have or what, I don't know. No password.
Employee number, clock in, employee number, clock out.
is that like a 4-digit PIN? 3-digit?
Well, it can be in 2 to 3, 1 to 3. Some people are.
So that's the only
Some
verification
actually,
they
some
have.
actually.
Okay. Any other discussion about the resolution? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Clark Gamling,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
No.
Teresa Bain,
Yes means I want it turned off, correct? Okay.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall,
Yes.
Heath McCormick,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
No.
Bobby Orman,
No.
Sonny Ross,
No.
Mitchell Sheff,
No.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brett Wallace,
No.
Jeremy Williams.
No.
Motion passes 9 ayes, 7 nays.
Moving on, discussion and vote to approve declaring the following vehicles as surplus as recommendation of the Public Safety Committee. Probation has a 2000 Chevy G3500 Express van. VIN number is listed on your agenda. Is there a motion to list these as surplus?
I'll make that motion.
Sonny makes a motion to list these as surplus. Is there a second? Lori makes a second. Any discussion on the surplus of the van? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Next, for the Sheriff's Department is the 2009 Chevy Impala. The VIN number is listed on your agenda. Is there a motion to
I'll make a motion.
Sonny makes the motion. Dante seconds the motion. Any discussion on the Chevy Impala? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 9, discussion and vote to approve $100,000 in ARPA funds for squad equipment purchases for FY24 for the Sheriff's Office upon recommendation of the Public Safety Committee. Is there a motion for the $100,000 ARPA expenditure? Jeremy makes the motion. Is there a second? Brent seconds the motion. Is there discussion? Teresa?
This is the money that was discussed at the budget meeting when you took money out of his budget.
Correct.
He asked for money for vehicles, and in order to balance the budget, it was taken out of his budget and said that if the vehicles came, that the ARPA money could buy the vehicles.
Yep.
That's the money we're talking about.
Yep. And I do believe it buys 2 squad cars. Is that correct? 2 squads? Okay. Any other questions, comments? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Clark Hamlin,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall,
Yes.
Heath McCormick,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Norman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Mitchell Shutt,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brent Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 10 is discussion and vote to include the sheriff with the coroner's package. Approve purchasing needed for the phone app for timekeeping in the sheriff's department upon recommendation of the Public Safety Committee. Is there a motion? Heath McCormick makes a motion. Is there a second? Julie seconds the motion. Discussion on the purchase of the phone app.
How much does it cost?
It's roughly $40 per person on the first 20. That's rough numbers. It's like $780. That's $780.
So will it be all the deputies then? Is that what you're going to do?
So the deputies and the coroners that basically dispatched or leave from home, on the clock from home.
Are there other employees of the county that do that drive their vehicles home, that start and stop from their driveways?
Public Safety reviewed this. Is there any comments to that? I don't think so.
Does the animal control warden do that?
Is he driving his vehicle home?
Yes.
Is that in policy?
It's in question.
So for now, the motion is to have the sheriff and the coroner together in a package. So,
The estimate, the quote here from CIC, I just found it $799 for 1 to 20 devices.
for the first 20.
Is that a year?
That's a one-time install.
Is this on their personal device?
Negative.
Okay.
This is on their, well, I'll call company phone, their county phone. And I just happened to ask the sheriff the other day that they all have department phones.
So I guess with that, I mean, I don't know what data goes on through department phones, but what kind of data sharing does that require to give that company into that phone? Right, so anytime we download an app and go to use it, it asks for permissions for access into everything into that phone. So I guess what data is stored on those phones that could possibly be sensitive that we wouldn't want to provide to that timekeeping company? If anything, and it may not be anything.
Anybody answer the question?
This information doesn't have anything, and I'm curious. Originally, the notion for the deputies were that the deputies would use their tough books, their car-mounted, squad-mounted computers to log in through a web browser. That's what EMA does, uses a web browser. I'm just curious if the reason the app was requested was so that the computers in the squad cars don't like to start up when it's cold. I understand that. I'm just wondering if this is going on a county-owned phone anyway, if they could use the county-owned phone through a web browser. I don't know the process of the web browser. I don't know if that's so clunky that it's not functional.
You mean instead of using the app?
Instead of using an app, instead of spending another $700, we're already turning off things that we bought and paid for. Do we want to buy for more stuff that we're not going to use? I'm just...
So the app, the front that I've seen on the app is basically, however big your phone screen is,
Right.
it's a big,
Right.
soft key on
Right.
your screen.
Yeah.
And I could see where the browser would be a little more, like you said, clunky. But any other questions? Can't answer the question, but I can. As far as data interaction, but Sheriff, you looked into it by any chance?
I have no information on the app or the timekeeping system, so I can't tell you.
I guess follow up to that, put your department phones, are they linked to internal systems here or anything that might be sensitive that we might be giving up?
Email,
But really, the sensitive stuff should be on in their computer in the car. So, the phones are basically a second means of communication, and now they'd be used for clocking in and clocking out, proposed perspective. Any other questions, comments before we move on? I will ask for a roll call vote on the phone app. I'll call vote.
Clark Amley,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Tad Mayhall, Keith McCormick,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
No.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Orman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Mitchell Sheff,
Yeah.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brent Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
Motion carries.
Motion passes 14 ayes, 2 nays. Mayhall and Morse. Yeah.
Motion carries. Thank you. Item 11 is discussion and vote to approve the county title policy on a recommendation of the legislative committee. Jeremy?
So moved, Mr. Chairman.
Jeremy makes the motion. Is there a second? Keith makes the second. Discussion. Jeremy, do you want the floor on policy?
Sure. I can just read it right quick. It's very brief.
Okay.
All county-owned and operated equipment that requires a title from the Secretary of State in Illinois or any other department from the state of Illinois will be required as follows. 1, the title and registration will be registered in the name of Shelby County. 2, the address of all equipment will be 301 Main Street, Shelbyville. 3, all titles will be in control of the county clerk. All county-owned buildings, property titles will be sent to the county clerk for record keeping. Buildings to be titled as Shelby County with the appropriate address. All departments have until March 1, 2024 to correct any titles or registrations that do not follow the above policy rules. So this came about just because we become aware that there are pieces of equipment, vehicles, perhaps even buildings and properties that are titled in some name other than Shelby County, and it's all under the possession, control, and jurisdiction of Shelby County, and so it should be titled Shelby County. And also, as those are county documents, public documents, the originals should be given to the clerk's office because they keep and store and maintain public records. And so this is just a little matter of record keeping is all it is.
Housekeeping. Tab.
So can you tell us what things don't currently have the right titles?
I understand there have been some title changes recently, and so my list may be a bit out of date. I think some of the dive team vehicles were titled something other than Shelby County. And perhaps the sheriff could speak to, I think some of the vehicles from the sheriff's department were titled in something other than Shelby County.
All of my titles are in Shelby County Sheriff.
Okay. Yeah. So as it is, just hypothetical example, we're getting a couple of new squad cars for the sheriff's department. If we were to retire one or two from that department's service, they're still owned, possessed by the county, and we could shift one to another department for use in another department. And so they're under the jurisdiction, ownership, and control of the county, so they should be titled in the county's name, Shelby County. It's like I said, it's just a matter of housekeeping.
Sure. So I guess 2 points to that follow-up. What's the cost associated with this on estimate? The other piece of that is, if we went out and retitled vehicles before we had a policy, what was the reason we would do something before we took action here?
What was the last part again? I'm sorry.
So you just acknowledged that there was things that were just retitled before policy. It just seems cart before the horse to me.
Yeah, well, I didn't have anything to do with the retitling of anything. But the policy going forward is that they should be. If that's already been done, then that's fine and great. But going forward from here, they'll just need to be changed to Shelby County as the title.
And the first part of that was cost?
Cost?
It's $51 per correction.
Building and vehicle?
Building title, I don't know about that, but a vehicle title. Lori.
There are about 20 in the sheriff's department, and then there are about 20 in the highway department that would be corrected to just state Shelby County with a new address. My calculations are about $2,000 split between two offices. If it's each department pays for their own, about $1,000 a piece, or if it comes out of the general fund, because if they
Correction, Lori. This would be a good spot for ARPA funds. Go ahead.
Okay. That's what but it would be, it's not $10,000, it's $1,000 for one department and about $1,000 for the other department.
Something else too, is in the conversations with our auditors, in the terms of basically rolling stock or major assets, those records are to be kept in one spot in the clerk's office, and prospectively in the clerk's office, because they keep the records. And like Jeremy alluded to, that they're a record in jurisdiction of the county board. When the sheriff purchases a squad car, even though here we used ARPA funds, the board would approve his budget, which is effectively the board approving the funds to be spent. So the board still dictates who buys what, kind of. In the same fashion, when we surplus something, when that asset is liquidated, those funds go back in the general fund, not to the department. So there's this disconnect of records, and it needs to be centralized, and even the auditors have spoke to it. So, any other questions, comments?
One more thing was on insurance, I think. If there were a claim, it would be important to avoid ambiguity or confusion and perhaps liability if vehicles are titled in the same name as the entity that insures them. And so this would help to.
I'm going to speak to that because I handle the liability claims, and there's never been an issue. We've filed several in the past year on the sheriff's vehicle. There's no issue in the titling.
Okay.
There's not been to date.
Okay.
So.
As long as they're listed as a county asset. Jim?
hurry to do it all at once? Why can't we just wait till they roll over and then change it then?
That's
Then there wouldn't be really any added expense because you're gonna change the titles at that time.
legislative.
Aren't these permanent plates, or do they expire every year?
No.
So that it's not like wait till the end of the year when it's renewed, so there wouldn't be a time.
He's talking about surplusing the vehicles.
Are you talking about surplusing?
Yeah. Then when you get rid of one and you get another one,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
and then
I thought you were talking about the title. Okay, I'm sorry. Mistake.
So I'm sorry, Tim.
well, then there wouldn't be any extra expense because you're retitling it whenever you get a new one. So, all this extra expense would be done. It would take longer to do, but it would still get done.
It could take a very long time.
Well, if there's no problem with insurance.
Julie.
Well, also too, if we have this policy in place for any new vehicles that we would purchase, it would state how they have to be titled. Even more so than retitling the vehicles that we currently own. A policy going forward sets the, standard for how we title vehicles in the future. I don't know that there's a rush to retitle anything specifically right now, but this would apply to new purchases also.
Yeah, just to clarify, it's not retitle, it's the correction.
To make the
Title
correction, sorry, right.
Because there's options to retitle, but it's title
Right.
correction.
Correct.
This is going from what is technically incorrect to what is technically correct.
At one point in Shelby County's history, the sheriff's vehicles were titled Shelby County. And then somewhere along the way that got changed, as I believe the sheriff, and when he says that they're all titled to Shelby County Sheriff's Office, but I know they used to not be that way. So a policy spelling out how, I think, is more than appropriate.
Any other,
Yeah, I guess if there's, to the point just made, there's no rush to do it, right? There's no insurance need, right? It's still a county-owned asset according to insurance, and by your statement just a minute ago, then, there is a rush because this calls for to do it by March. So, to Mr. Morse's point, why not wait till vehicles turn over, right? Maybe readjust what this is asking for, which is all new purchases be titled that way. But to take on an extra expense, to do something that doesn't seem to pose liability doesn't make much sense.
any other questions, comments, concerns? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign.
No.
Raise your hands, please.
Teresa, Tad, Brent, and Tim. Sorry, Clay. So we had 5 minutes. With 5 nays, that is Teresa, Tad, Brent, Tim, and Clay. Motion carries. Item 12 is discussion and vote to approve the calendars of the regularly scheduled board meetings, committee meetings, and county holidays for 2024, according to 5 ILCS 120-2.02. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Sonny makes a motion. Is there a second? Julie seconds the motion. Any discussion?
This is the calendar for all the committee meetings as well?
Yes.
Okay. And where do you have the legislative committee meetings at? You have them in the same place, the Tuesday after the board meetings?
I think I have them.
January 6th is your first one.
Okay, so it'd be the Tuesday after board meeting?
Yeah, the Tuesday after board meeting, which was what you originally scheduled when we did this last December.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I want to make the motion to amend that to move the legislative committee meetings to the first Tuesday of the month. I would put it right ahead.
Legislative,
Yeah, I'd put it right ahead of the board meeting.
and the same day as the finance too.
Yep.
So what time on?
I think we've moved to 6:30 as a standard time. I think that would be a good point. But is finance usually done by 6:30?
Usually, yes.
Okay.
Depends.
Depends on how many of us are there.
Can I ask if any member of the legislative committee present has a problem with that, if that works? Okay.
I don't.
I'd appreciate it.
I just want to make sure there's one committee there. Very good. Okay, so the amendment is to take legislative to the first Tuesday of the month at 6:30.
Yes, first Tuesday of the month at 6:30, please.
Is there a second on that? Heath makes a second. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor of the amendment to the calendars? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. So we'll go back to the main motion of approving the calendars, regularly scheduled board meetings, committee meetings, and county holidays as amended. I had a motion and a second somewhere. Sunny and Julie, second motion and second. Any discussion as amended? Hearing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Item 13 is committee reports. I'd like to open the floor to any other committees that would like to make a report. Hearing none.
Mr. Chairman.
Sorry, go ahead, Jeremy.
I was expecting someone to have something. Last Thursday at legislative, we had a very good, I guess I'll call it a presentation from both the probation department head and from the chief judge. And legislative heard some requests that policy drafts go to all the department heads for their input, or at least all the pertinent department heads for their input. It was a great conversation. We really appreciated their thoughts, their input, their attendance. And so the change they requested is already being made. Every policy draft that might have come from last Thursday to tonight is being put off a month so department heads have the opportunity to offer input. I will say we have done this a time or two before, and we've had trouble getting some input sometimes, and that's fine if there's no need for any changes to the draft or it doesn't pertain to that department or whatever. But I just wanted everyone to know, one, legislative is going to send any and all of those kinds of things to department heads for their input, for their consideration, and we'd like to hear from them. Two, legislative is completely approachable, like this photography on time clock thing. Legislative discussed that about 6 or 8 months ago, and we would have been more than happy to listen to concerns and be approached about it then. So legislative is completely approachable. Please come in. We welcome attendance and input and thoughts and all that.
Any other committee reports? Hearing none, we're skipping item 15. We'll go straight to correspondences, which I have none. Is any old business? Teresa?
I sent you an email about an update on the audit. If you could give us an update of what the status is on it.
Yep, I just got one today.
Okay.
That is that they are hoping to have, they should have everything wrapped up by next month, in the next 30 days. So they're getting their single audits wrapped up and getting their reports made,
So we should get a report then after the first of the year?
Yes, board meetings, yeah, it should be by the next board meeting.
Okay. And now I have something else that, for everybody, an update on the available ARPA funds. I guess I can tell everybody now instead of in public body comment. I got an update today, and we have $2,909,713 in the ARPA funds available. So everybody knows.
Mr. Chairman, I have a question.
Jeremy?
When you said single audits, you meant audits of singular departments that we would have requested probably at the November meeting?
Negative. There are single audits within the general audit.
Okay. Has there been communication about those single department audits that the board approved last month?
No.
Okay. Who would be the contact person there to reach out to Benford and Brown and request the audits that the board approved?
That would be Tim Brown. There's Tim Brown. Tim Watson, I'm sorry. I don't have two Tim Browns, I have Tim Watson and Tim Brown.
Okay. But who from the county as an entity sends them an email and says, hey, the board would like audits if you'd be so kind to do them on this, this, and this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Just need to run something longer.
I can do that.
Well, I'm going to clarify that we don't have $2.9 million available in ARPA funds because a lot of those are already committed to projects. So that's the balance in the ARPA fund
I asked
account,
for-
but it is not what is available because some of those are already committed.
I asked for what was available in the ARPA funds, and that's what I was given.
I'm not sure who gave you that number. I didn't speak to you, but I'm telling you the 2.9 million is what is in the account, and we've put 1.25 million toward the windows. So, and there's other projects, and then tonight we've added another project, so that will have to be updated. The 2.9 million is not what is available to now be spent out of ARPA.
It came from your office this afternoon.
I didn't speak to you today.
No, you didn't.
Okay.
So there's somewheres.
Disregard what I said, because evidently I was not given the right figures.
Okay, any other old business? Tab?
Good segue. Window update? Do we have an idea where we stand?
In the Public Safety Committee meeting, Cody Brands is chair of that, and he was appointed to be the liaison to work with the sheriff, to work with the architect, to try to get figured out when their scope of work is going to begin. I know he's made mention to me that he's called several times, left messages. It is, as Mr. Tate can verify, it's very difficult to communicate with the architect due to workload or just don't call you back. I don't know. It's very difficult.
But they are working on it.
Allegedly.
Okay. Any other old business? Hearing none, we'll move on to the approval of claims. Is there a motion to approve the claims? Mark will make a motion to approve the claims. Don will second the motion, and we'll go into discussion. We've had discussion about,
Are we adding those bills into these claims?
Mr. Chairman,
Yep.
I would like to ask one by one. There is actually, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 different entries. Jessica's vendor sheet actually is as close as anything. So first I would like to ask is the client services. So for the 3-month total that we would be paying is $109,500.
No. No, I'm sorry, I don't have my book in front of me, but I think it's just 36 for
Well,
those 3
that's
months.
the reason in here
It's
it shows
36 for 3 months.
January,
Yes.
and I talked with Jessica today, and she thought it was quarterly.
It's
It
36.
is, we do it 4 times a year.
Okay, and we only had 3 in here, so that didn't make a fourth one for the year.
No.
Well,
So-
we'd already done December.
Okay.
See, remember, December started, we'd already done December before we knew, we thought it was gonna start January 1. So we'd already done December.
Okay.
I asked the question earlier, is it 36.5 a month or 36.5 every 3 months?
No, it's every 3 months. And
It's
that's
36.5 a month, but they pay it quarterly.
Yes.
So it's
That's
36.5, 36.5, 36.5.
Yes.
For 3 months, not for 30, not per month. It's
No.
36.5.
It's
for 3
36.5
months.
per month,
Per month. But we put it all on one voucher.
but they put it on one thing.
So it's 36,500 times 12
Yes.
is 1 year.
It's 1
Yes.
year.
It's $146,000.
So this month, so we should only have 1 listing on here instead of 3. Because next month, I'm gonna come back and ask for 36.5, correct?
No.
No.
They won't ask for 36.5 again until April.
And then they'll ask it for 3 months.
And then
again.
they'll ask it for 3 months.
Yeah.
That's worded incorrectly.
It is.
You got me.
You know what, this is not the first time. This is not the first time you have seen these vouchers.
Actually, it is the first time I've seen these vouchers, and I've been on the finance committee for a calendar year. This is the first time I have seen this voucher. That's why I'm asking so many questions.
It's 36.5, so coverage for 3 months total.
Per month.
Then what are we gonna pay in? This has got January, February, March. What are we gonna pay in April?
We're gonna pay 109.5 for April, May, June.
Then it is 36.5 a month, which is times 12 for the whole year. And that's what we were trying to ask, and so when I mentioned that the claim here is for $109,000, this claim was for 3 full months
Mark,
instead
you
of for
kind of
1.
put me in a bad situation. I have no paperwork in front of me. And
Understood.
I'm supposed to pull things out of the top of my head. I'm sorry.
That's all
I
right.
don't
Would
want
you like to see this? Would
I
you like to
signed
see
it. This is the way our vouchers look every 3 months.
For a point of clarification though, when it goes to, the finance committee, there's, what, 7 of you in there? And they will pass these
I know,
claims
I
around.
meetings,
And
yes.
not every committee member will see every claim. A few committee members will see a claim, and they will have a discussion about it if something arises. So when Sonny says that he's never seen a claim, it is highly probable that he's never seen a claim of that nature because they don't see every claim.
This set shows 36.5 for January,
Yes.
36.5 for February, 36.5 for March.
Yes.
So what's the question?
So this claim is for 3 months total?
Yes, 3 months total.
Okay. And earlier you said no. This
That's
just-
because I didn't have the paperwork in front of me.
That's fine, that's fine. We're just trying to clarify.
It would have been more helpful for you to contact me at a time when I could answer those questions.
Actually, I did make some phone calls. I just got this Wednesday and was able to finally see it on Wednesday evening. And
Should have gotten
I
it
made several
Tuesday.
calls today and said,
This didn't make it to finance committee, that's why we're asking you now.
yes, I'm
Sorry for
sorry to
that.
put you on the spot, but we just,
Yes. If you just leave a message, then I would return a call.
Well, and I gave Mark Kristen's number, and Kristen wasn't in today.
Oh, okay.
And then there was a bill that was received today that will not go before
Yep.
this committee until next month.
They knew that.
Okay.
If I could just be crystal clear, I am not questioning the validity of any of the bills despite the groaning of the public. Mr. Bennett is correct. We received these bills late. There was an error. Errors happen. I understand that. Mr. Bennett was working to get an answer. I have never seen these claims before. I wasn't certain what they're for. questions I was asking was, do we own the building? Well, we don't own the building, so I'm curious why we spend $24,000 to remodel a bathroom in a building we don't own. We're just asking questions on bills that the finance did not receive on Tuesday. We're not trying to put you in the hot seat. We're trying to figure this out, and we can either work on it now or we can just not pay them. That's my point.
So continue on with your amendment.
So, I would like to ask Jessica, are we gonna go ahead and pay 3 months worth?
109,000, yes.
Okay, so like a start. I'm asking, approval of the claim for $109,000 to client services first. I have to do this one by one.
Mark?
Yes,
And
ma'am.
109,500.
109,500, my mistake. I'll make that motion and we pay it.
Second by Don. Any other discussion? We'll do roll call on the
Cumulative?
cumulative. So all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign.
Okay.
Amendment carries. Go ahead.
The next item is for $59,609.73 for the computer upgrades for Shelby County Community Services. I'll make a motion that we pay that bill.
Motion on the floor, is there a second? Second by Tad. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries. Continue on.
Okay, the third entry here is the bathroom upgrade for ADA compliance by Community Services for $23,400.
Want to split that, Mark?
I'm sorry, sir?
Want to split that, so we only, the estimate says half.
The estimate would, yes, what would be payable at current time would be half of the $23,400.
What's the claim for?
The claim is for $23,400, but at the bottom of the paperwork, it says 50% upon,
Okay.
which is $11,700.
Mr. Bennett, if we're gonna pay this as the claimant states, it's 23.4. So
We'd be approving the
I-
whole bill.
I would see this as the board approving the whole amount requested to the board Ms. Cheney sits on, and then let that board pay those out at the 50% as is necessary. That's how I would see it. So I would recommend that it be 23.4, not try to split it here.
Okay, that'd be fine. I mean, $23,400 for the whole amount.
And what's this for, you say, Mark?
This is the ADA compliance for the bathroom renovation.
To a building we don't own?
Community Services owns it, and it comes out of their budget.
Come out of whose budget?
It comes out of the community services budget. They do own this building.
They do own it.
Yes. The pavilion, and I believe that's attached to the main building?
It's behind the main building.
Okay.
So Mark has a motion on the floor, is there a second? Tad seconds the motion. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Okay, motion carries. Next amendment.
The next one is for substance abuse. It is for January, February, and March. It's $2,500 a month. The total would be $7,500.
Motion on the floor, is there a second? Don Tate seconds the motion. Any discussion on this? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
The last item is the security camera upgrade system at $1,447.77. This is also on a community services building.
Say that again, please. The amount?
$1,447.77.
And it's for which upgrade? The computer upgrades?
Security
Oh, I'm
cameras.
sorry.
That's fine. Yes.
Motion on the floor, is there a second? Tab seconds. Any other discussion? Hearing none, all in favor say aye. Aye. All opposed, same sign. Motion carries.
I would like to point out one other, the items that we just approved, the total on all those items is $201,457.50.
The monthly MyTech bill for $5,000, now the contract's been approved, is it okay to pay that?
We did approve it in committee in case that did come
Oh,
up.
perfect, perfect.
Okay.
You guys need a microphone?
You guys have to speak so everyone can hear it.
Okay, John just brought to my attention, is that on the security system?
I think so.
There's a bill at the bottom for 8,000, but the claim is only for 1,400. For the security camera.
Levon?
It's because they had already paid the other amount. That's what was left when they got a final bill. We're just paying the bottom of it.
Okay, so the 1447.77 is just the remainder of the balance. Okay. Any other amendments? At all?
That's it, I'm sorry, sir.
Very good. So, there was, did we vote on the security upgrades?
Yes.
Okay. So, back to the main motion approval of the claims. As amended, the amendments will be the client services at $109,500, computer upgrades at $59,000 and change, whatever was written into the minutes. ADA compliant bathroom upgrades at $23,400. The exact amounts will be in the minutes as well. The substance abuse program
Yes.
for $7,500 and the security upgrades for $1,447.77 to total of $201,457.50. Is that correct?
Yes.
So those are the amendments. So back to the main motion of approval of claims. Any discussion on that? Hearing none, roll call, please.
Clark Hamlin,
Yes.
Mark Bennett,
Yes.
Teresa Bain,
Yes.
Tim Brown,
Yes.
Julie Edwards,
Yes.
Clay Hardy,
Yes.
Tad Mayhaw,
Yes.
Keith McCormick,
Yes.
Tim Morse,
Yes.
Lori Nelson,
Yes.
Bobby Orman,
Yes.
Sonny Ross,
Yes.
Mitchell Schuff,
Yes.
Don Tate,
Yes.
Brett Wallace,
Yes.
Jeremy Williams.
Yes.
Motion passes unanimously.
All right, motion carries approval of claims. I'll grab the clock here. Did anybody put their name on the public body comment sheet?
No, it's in my folder.
Didn't see one up there, Bob.
Sorry.
Okay, we'll just open the floor to public body comments. It is 5 minutes. No yield time up to 5 minutes for a total of 10, correct? No? No yield time. Belina.
I have a few questions for the county board tonight. I realize that you all aren't required to answer, but in the interest of the public safety, I would hope that our elected public officials would attempt to answer my questions. You certainly do have the right to do so. The board chairman was provided a signed intergovernmental agreement passed unanimously by the Shelbyville City Council some time ago, but neither the legislative nor public safety committee even put it on their agendas for discussion. Is it the board's intention to completely ignore this excellent proposal to end this public safety crisis and put a dive team back in service immediately? We've yet to really hear any more on this. And then, how many applications have been received for the county's non-existent dive team? How many of those volunteers have been hired to date? Have any of them begun extensive training to serve as public safety divers? Who will instruct them? Who will lead them? And how long will all this take? Since the dive team was supposedly shut down because of an insurance emergency, has anything been done to address the fact that the rescue squad is still in the exact same emergency situation and was never shut down? Or could there have been a totally different reason Sonny Ross unilaterally, without board approval or consultation, stood the dive team down? And if so, what was the real reason? To switch topics, from what I understand, this goes to Teresa Bain, could only be legally appointed to the cemetery board position by Treasurer Erica Fernhaber. She was not. Then she was never legally appointed. How can she be charged with a felony for a position she never legally held? In the 8 months she was on the cemetery board and our treasurer didn't seem to catch that she was not legally appointed, isn't that the treasurer's fault just as much as Teresa's fault? And then last, where's our highly paid state's attorney? And his assistant Denise, who has not appeared on a court docket since November 22nd, which is 3 weeks ago, unless she was here today because I didn't check today's. But I don't think she was. You all are going on and on about saving us taxpayers so much money, but we are giving thousands and thousands to that office when there's never anyone here doing any of the work. Thank the good Lord that we have positive changes coming to that office in the very near future. And then I'm going to backpedal one thing on Jeremy's comment about the time clock with the picturing. That's one way to tell your employees you don't trust them without telling them you don't trust them. So thank you to you board members that voted yes on that. Those county employees are watching and they know.
Public body comment.
Tammy Smith. I'd like to read my interpretation of the top 10 wins for your constituents in 2023. Number 10, appointing the personal attorney of the Edgar County Watchdogs to serve as our county state's attorney, despite concerns voiced by some board members. 9, appointing 2 Republicans from the same district to fill a spot vacated by a Democrat on the Board of Review, basically negating the voters' wishes. 8, hiring an assistant for the County Highway Department at an increased hourly wage who had no clue what the duties of the job entailed and who cost taxpayers even more by charging the county for unnecessary overtime. 7, allowing our tax dollars to continue to pay the salary of an assistant state's attorney who has not been seen in the courthouse since November the 22nd. 6, being complicit to the state's attorney filing felony charges against a fellow board member who was only trying to serve her community, while true criminals were released, had charges lowered, or were completely dropped. 5, okayed the almost $500,000 budget for the state's attorney's office, yet keeping a $6 an hour increase for the deputy sheriffs was unacceptable, causing that department to lose 3 deputies so far. 4, refused to plant a second crop after the wheat was harvested on the county poor farm, resulting in lost revenue. 3, attempted to sell the county poor farm against voters' wishes. 2, confiscated equipment belonging to the volunteer dive team and changed the titles to reflect ownership by the county. And number 1, by refusing to ask one board member to step down from the Public Safety Committee after he single-handedly stood down the dive team, the entire dive team resigned. The board's complicity with one member's actions put an entire community at risk. And by refusing to sign an intergovernmental agreement with the city, citizens are still at risk. Can't wait to see our wins for 2024.
Public body comment.
Mr. Ross, there's a chatter around town. I'm sorry. I didn't
No,
mean to do
it's
that.
fine.
I've been waiting to do this.
Go ahead.
There's a chatter
I can
around
wait.
town that there's a hotel that you would like to put at the airport. And as taxpayers, we would like to know where this money's coming from and actually where are you going to put it? Just curious.
I think she was talking to you.
I'm talking to you, Mr. Ross. I want to know where the airport meetings are and when they are. I want to go.
I have no idea about it.
I believe they're
And
the
what
first
time is
Monday of the month at the airport. But I don't know anything about it.
So the rumor around town is that Sunny wants to build a hotel at the airport.
Just want to
Wow.
know if it's true or not. I don't know why.
Boy, the tails can get pretty tall, can't they?
And so the state's attorney will have a place to stay? I don't know. It's just,
gonna be here to have
Chris.
He's gone.
I just wanted to follow up about the windows. I'm interested in Tad's question. Is there a legal definition for money being allocated? Like, for you guys, if you allocate for something, is that it's set aside for something? Is there a process for that? Because I'm curious. I've done construction projects. My brother's done much larger ones than I have, but normally, if you're going to set aside money for something, say I want to do a roof next year, I got $30,000 in the bank. Now that's $30,000 in the bank until I decide I sign a contract with somebody and I know I owe it, right? That would mean we've talked about the scope of the work. I have a contractor that's got to do it. I understand this is a little bit different. You get an architect, then you're going to need a contractor. It's a much more involved project, than just a residential project. So it's going to take a lot longer sort of timeline to get that done. That's been happening for a long time. But do we have a contractor? Do we have scope of work? Do we have a schedule? Do we have a notion of completion date? Do we have a start date for any of this stuff? Because otherwise, it doesn't sound like you have money allocated. It sounds like you have something you're planning on doing in the future at some point, but that's not allocation. So I just want to know if I'm missing a notion of a legal definition of what allocated means.
So define legal allocation.
Oh, I'm asking you guys.
Yeah. To put it in a line item in a budget. That's allocation.
And you guys have allocated
We have.
$1.25 million for ARPA funds for the windows.
It's in the projects line item.
Is it? I don't know. Okay.
It was budgeted last year.
Right. Okay, so it's been budgeted for a long time. All right. So that money's been set aside from ARPA funds, actually even before we had ARPA funds.
No.
Well, you guys started the project before then, right? How long has that line item been
So
there?
that project started when we got the DECO grant, which is a $250,000 grant. And we were going to start the window project, and then ARPA come along. Now it's like we can do the full scope one fell swoop.
Right. And do we have those things that I asked about? Do we have an architect that we're communicating with? And I understand that Mr. Brands isn't here. Do we have a contract? Do we have an agreed upon contract? Do we have a scope of work? Do we have a schedule for that work? And do we have an idea of completion date? Do we have any of those things?
Yeah, so the sheriff might be able to elaborate a little more, because Cody and the sheriff, I believe, were working on that, correct?
I wasn't involved in what UTS was hired to do, and I've had no communication with UTS. And and I don't know, as Cody said, I know there was a meeting, Sonny, Don, there was a few that went to us, and like I said, I'm unsure what they're doing for us or what they're gonna provide.
Right. And if we don't have that by the end of next year, right, that $1.25 million that we have earmarked from the ARPA funds goes.
It
No.
goes in the general fund.
No. If we don't allocate that, if it's not spent, right? If it's not allocated, right, if we don't have a contract, we don't have completed work, that stuff goes away.
It doesn't leave.
I was under the impression that if we hadn't,
That was a long time ago.
those rules have changed.
Effectively, yes.
Can you explain that to me?
I can't, but I'm telling you, as a broad stroke of the brush, that when those funds are sitting there, we can use them for things we would normally budgeted, like we are doing.
Yeah. Up
And
until 20.
even if they're not allocated, they can be used for things that used to be, so effectively going back in the general fund.
That's not the impression that I've read of the FAQs I've read about the ARPA funds.
Right, so paying past invoice for projects, so effectively going back in the general fund.
And if we don't spend it by the end of 2026, then it's gone.
It goes back in the general fund. Because it would be used to spend on past expenditures.
That's not how I understand the ARPA guidelines. And I've read them.
Just saying, it's a broad stroke of the brush, what I'm saying.
Okay. Sure. I got no questions answered.
Public comment, over here in the back.
I just want to go back into this title situation this evening. I'd love if Sonny turned around and look at me while I say it, because he's usually wanting to make eye contact with me. I want you to look at me, you and Bobby both. Good angle. So, I happen to have one of the titles in my hand. The first title to the command vehicle, the Freightliner, okay? It's titled to Shelby County Dive Team. The new corrected title says Shelby County. And the bottom of it was signed by the Shelby County Board Chairman. And that vehicle was purchased by an organization that donated it to the Shelby County Dive Team, which all summer you complained and argued that they weren't part of our county, blah, 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 blah. We went on and on and on about this. And in the closed minutes of that session from July 18th, it was said that they weren't part of the county legally. Those of us that haven't requested might not know that, but it does say that. So I went to the Secretary of State, or I actually looked into the issue a little bit farther. And on, I think it was October 26th, you and Bobby both signed something, and this is verbatim what it says. We, Robert Orman and Sonny Ross, took the original titles of all vehicles and watercraft titled to Shelby County Dive Team from the county clerk's office today, October 26, 23. You guys went to the state, Secretary of State's office and you corrected the titles. And Sonny, you said in a meeting that there was no change of ownership at all. Seems to me maybe you're not telling the truth. When you get to the Secretary of State's website, it tells you why would I need a corrected title? Three things it says. When you are removing an owner's name due to divorce, death, etc. When you are adding or changing an owner's name due to marriage. When you're adding a lien, submit the application for vehicle transaction. So, in the end, we reimbursed Mr. Orman on his credit card $212. Oh, sorry, $216.77. The $212 divided by 3 is the amount you get to change the owner on a title. And my understanding is that it was in the logging of where this expense came from, Dive Team Equipment Maintenance. You guys took those titles, you know damn well, excuse my French, but it's a word I can use. You knew darn well that those titles did not belong to you, those vehicles did not belong to you. And you snuck around during the daytime, even had the stupidity to sign a form that said you took them. You changed them and acted like you were legally able to do that. Do you know what the penalty is in the state of Illinois if I would do that to one of your vehicles? It's a Class 2 felony, fellas. This has gone too far. You have done it again and again. And this is not the only one. You've done it 4 times with 4 vehicles. And I know everybody says, oh, Shelby County paid for those. Prove it. Because none of them were paid for by Shelby County. The 2019 Chevy pickup, there was a group of organizations that put money towards that. And the money that they received was put in a fund that was used by the dive team, a fundraiser fund. And the truck was paid for out of there, plus your $5,000 that you bid or give towards the truck, okay, because you were going to go in on part of the pickup. So the check that came out does say Shelby County on it, but it came out of the fundraiser account, majority of it, except that $5,000 came from the county. This is crap. You guys are grown men. If you can't follow the rules, then you both need to step down. We're all sick of it. If any one of those board members that doesn't agree with your politics would do that, you would have Hamlet on them before they could walk out the door. You know darn good and well what you did is wrong. And he did it 4 times, and we're stupid enough to sign for it. What the hell is wrong with you two? Seriously, where do you stop acting like a bunch of spoiled 12-year-olds? You do what you want, you don't worry about what the penalty is. What's going to happen when somebody does go to the Secretary of State besides me and gives them the information that you went in there and presented those titles and acted like they were yours and they're not? You should have had to prove that you purchased them or a legal document saying they belong to you. You didn't have either one, and that's why you paid $40-some a piece for them. Because if you correct a title, it costs $15. So, Mr. Orman, your credit card that you got charged $216-some odd for, you got screwed. Because you just laid claim to what you did. You and Sonny both laid claim to what you did. You signed the bottom of the corrected title form, and then you paid them for doing it. Good luck with that. Leave me alone.
Public comment. Tricia.
I think what the big problem was is you did it without taking it to the board to even give the other districts a voice in what you did. That's where I see the big problem, is it wasn't taken to put on the agenda for the public safety to say this is what we're going to do, this is the legal advice we got to do it, this is why we think we can do it. Because someone did come to a board member meeting previously and made a public claim to those vehicles, other than the county. So the minute someone stood up and said, we believe we have a claim to those vehicles, why didn't this go on an agenda to be discussed and decided? You took people's voices away from every district but one district. You're both from the same district, mine. And you gave them no voice. What's Republican in that? We believe in giving people voices. And you took their voice away. And that's where I see the big problem is it didn't go on an agenda. Just like the stand-down order, people did not know. And it's a continuous problem. If you're going to do something that has large impacts or that's going to upset public so much, tell us why you're doing what you're doing so we have an understanding. Tell us the legal authority that let you go to the title company. What was the legal advice? Because when I called one of you and asked, you told me you didn't get any legal advice. You just did it. So either, if you were telling me the truth, that's what you said to me. You had no legal advice. But you need to start giving, things need to be they need to go on an agenda. So each district can have a voice for the people they represent. And I hope that you start doing that. No, you never voted for him in the first place.
Public comment.
I have Kurt sitting over there laughing at all these people talking. You've made a lot of accusations and allegations against people in Shelby County and organizations in Shelby County. Have you ever proved anyone did anything wrong? I have seen no proof in a court of law where anything you have ever accused anyone was a fact. And Jeremy, you have these meetings and I've been to them, so you can always have some kind of allegations at your meetings that you can't prove. I don't know why we're listening to you or Kirk either one. You accused the health department of missing $90,000. You're not man enough to give them an apology because Steve Malega wasn't missing anything and he never will be. You'll be lucky if you ever find a penny. The last meeting you had that I went to, you seemed to think we didn't need live streaming. But the judge, I think, probably got you straightened out, didn't you? And then you were gonna turn in these different allegations on number 7 at that meeting to the sheriff so he could prove we did a lot of things wrong. What happened to that? I don't believe you gave that to him. I think you went by that. So I don't even, Jeremy, what you say doesn't really have a lot of meaning to me. I suppose it should have, but it doesn't. What Kirk says has no meaning to me because he can't prove anything he says. He can't prove anyone guilty of anything. He makes all these accusations that we can't farm when we can. He says that we need a public purpose. There's nothing in the new law that says anything about public purpose. If there is, one of you people show it to me, would you?
Article 8, Section 1 of the Constitution.
It does not say it in there. It says it can be leased to a private entity. A farmer is a private entity. You can lease it to a farmer if you want to. If you don't want to vote to do it, there's nothing we can do about it. But if you vote to farm it, Jeremy can't stop you, and Kirk can't stop you, and the sheriff can't stop you, and no one's going to stop you.
That's right. That's right.
Go ahead and laugh. I don't care. It makes you look good.
Public body comment. Go ahead.
I just wanted to speak to Jeremy's comment about taking pictures of employees. My staff of employees is very important to me. We work together. I trust them explicitly. The county clerk's office lost an extremely valuable 16-year employee that had a tremendous amount of responsibility. We do elections. They handle money daily. We balance our books daily. We have a great deal of responsibility. I trust those people explicitly. If they give me a reason not to, I will handle it and deal with it. But I trust them explicitly. They clock in, they clock out, they keep their time as they're supposed to. There's no, they don't take an ounce. And for that, I appreciate that. And I think that we are wrong when we have this perception that tax-paying citizens, which most of our employees are criminals, because they're not. And I just wanted to say, I work with a great bunch of people. I do trust them explicitly. I don't think that their picture needs to be taken when they clock in and clock out. And as I said, there have been issues. We do make mistakes. As Mark found out, we are an extremely busy office, especially county board weeks. But I do appreciate them greatly, and I just want to say, I do appreciate the board members that voted to not have their photos taken because it did make a difference. The employees are much happier using the time clock because their photos not being taken, and they don't feel like they are criminals. Because once again, they are taxpayers, and although they work with me, I work for them. I answer to them, and I'm not going to treat them like they're criminals and they've done something wrong until, and I don't think they will, it happens. So I
Appreciate you.
Public body comment.
Did I actually say anyone was a criminal?
No, you didn't, but you said somebody could clock in for somebody else. And I will say, there's cameras in the hall. So the security guard sits right there. There's not a security guard in this courthouse that doesn't know every employee that's walking in and clocking in on that clock.
Where'd you get your law degree, Jeremy?
So the argument is, it's a trust but verify thing. Either we trust the employees or we have a point of verification that's like on the spot. And we don't have to get the video there, but nonetheless, the resolution passed, so it's settled.
Does it work that way with titles? Yeah. Trust and verify?
So the titles were not changed. The titles weren't changed to something false. They were changed from something false to correct it. So
You didn't buy it, it's not
I'm going to answer your question.
No, I don't hear your
No,
answer.
I'm going to give you your answer.
I'm not listening to your answer. Because it's a bunch of horseshit.
The
No, I'm not listening to
donors
it.
donated to the county. The county wrote a check for these trucks, and it came out of county budgets.
Where's the check?
So,
They donated the money.
Show us the
All
check.
the county money. You just wrote the check.
right there is a stack of paperwork that proves that the donations were made to the county writes the checks. The county owns the vehicle.
check, that's it.
Right here.
Yes.
All the claims, to all the trucks. Right here.
Yeah, Sonny.
It's right here.
Furthermore,
You were given the
there
money,
was 3 different addresses
and you
on
passed it
multiple
on
different
to
properties.
us.
So inconsistencies raise a lot of questions. And if they're all consistent,
But
It's
who
correct.
gave you permission to go do that, to know that what you did was?
You and Sonny, the
Was
reason we don't have a
legal.
dive team to begin with.
so making corrections to make
that
something
man
correct is being
to ruin
ridiculed.
all of your
I'll make that point.
reputations.
To correct something is being ridiculed here, just so everybody knows.
Right. To make it wrong right is being ridiculed.
I think what's being ridiculed is that you weren't transparent. That was part of what Christine
That's
said.
a public body comment. Public body comment? Public body comment.
Shut you down and make it wrong.
Tim?
So what effect do you think that your actions will have on whether or not people will ever donate again?
Yes.
Right.
So they should know who they're donating to?
They
We
did.
donated
Are
to
they
their
donating to an unregistered 501c3?
Bobby, you're not gonna win this one.
Yeah.
So they weren't donating to who they thought they were donating to.
All you did was pass along that money, that's all you
Therefore, it's company property, county property.
did. No, no.
You and Sonny
It's not
destroyed the dive
donated
team
to
and
the
we don't
county.
know it.
Public body comment. Senator.
So it's been asked several times. I do have copies of the receipts right here for
Cindy,
all
we
the
don't
trucks.
believe a word you say. I'm leaving.
It's in the paperwork.
Where'd you get the legal
So-
authority to ask the dive team to stand down?
Gonna take a big dump out there.
Mr. Chairman, would you please issue a warning to the entire room?
That Kirk is not funny either.
Merry Christmas,
Crap.
Sonny has the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have receipts here, so the county did purchase all the vehicles that are in question. I did not speak to the lady that said she spoke to somebody from her district. I did not answer any questions. Nobody's called me.
It was me. You're good.
Okay, fair enough. It was incorrect. It's corrected. That's what it is. There was no title transfer from anybody to anybody else. It was a correction. The lady at the Department of Motor Vehicles said this is what the fee is for a corrected title that has erroneous information on it. And we corrected the information. Plain and simple. Of the titles that were corrected, not only were there different names in Shelby County, but there were also different addresses, including one that was to a rural address. So having the equipment that is owned by the county in the name of the county seems prudent and proper to me.
With an address that's uniform to the clerk.
That's correct. As we're witnessing now with the audit, the clerk is having an extremely difficult time producing titles that she's being demanded of because she doesn't have them.
It's the asset list.
The auditors in the past carry the asset list of the county, and the new auditor expects the clerk to carry the asset list of the county. And how can she do that when the titles are not being sent to her office? It's a ridiculous, redundant thing to continue to beat. The clerk needs to have the things. One of the titles had a post-it note that said, please deliver this to the clerk. Well, if it would have had the proper address and name of the clerk, you wouldn't need a post-it note. I've never gone to my neighbor's house to collect a title for any vehicle I've ever bought because it was delivered to her house. Okay? It seems ridiculous that we have to have a policy. It seems ridiculous that people jump up and down and holler, but they are. We corrected something that was wrong, and it was in error. And we're being ridiculed for it. And then they make a big to-do and run out of the room mad because they don't want to hear the truth. You can't have a conversation. You cannot have conversation. You cannot have dialogue. When there's
John
not
Kraft,
time.
you didn't care if we had a dive team.
There can be no conversation. There can be no dialogue when one side screams and yells and runs out of the room. I can't do anything about that. Thank you.
So to answer some other questions about how the authority rolls out, when there's an absence of a department head that the board chair appoints, who is responsible for maintaining that department's paperwork? That's the board chair. The responsibilities fall back on the board chair. So somebody has to do the department head work. Now elected, that's above my pay grade, but appointed, it's a little different. So anyway, any other public body comment? Go ahead.
What happened to the piece of the equipment that Howard Buffett donated to the dive team?
I'm not recalling what
That was
equipment
big
you're talking about.
Pardon?
That was the big Freightliner that Christine was talking about.
The big Freightliner? Okay.
He funded
Yeah.
that whole truck.
Yeah, yeah. So how come
There again, the
their
check,
name is not on that truck?
the check was written to the county wrote the check.
You're kidding.
That was even in a court case in 2013. I
So they
believe.
can't give it directly to the dive team? Yeah.
So folks, as these wrongs are corrected and the facade and the story is corrected, I hope y'all take note of what is correct and what is not. And how we vote dictates a little bit of trying to be subtle and not just completely destroy somebody or something. We're trying to make things right and correct them along the way, but we're trying not to destroy things along the way. And back to the quote unilateral stand-down order. When a public official is notified of something, fully aware that there is an accelerated risk, they have the duty to try to stop the risk.
So why haven't you done that with the rescue squad then? If they're still considered the same risk as the dive team?
They're not high risk.
Why are they not considered high risk if the dive team was, if they had the same, everything was the same?
It's not the same.
So they all had the same insurance and that's what everybody's been going back and forth on. What's
A
different?
dive team is considered considerable high risk compared to a rescue squad. They're going into high moving water. Everything they do is high risk, where the rescue squad, the wreck has already happened. You know, they're just going out to help.
Well, I appreciate your response. I truly do, because I've reached out to different board members and you don't get responses back on that. So I do appreciate that.
Mr. Chairman,
Any other public body comment?
can I
Jeremy?
try to help here?
You can try.
Yeah, thank you. There's so much. It's my understanding that a member of the rescue squad sustained, I think, what was a fairly minor injury, and insurance covered what was necessary to get them taken care of, okay? There is then a precedent for there being more appropriately, more legally established than there was for the dive team. And the dive team did not have that precedent established for them. That's why rescue isn't quite in exactly the same boat. Also, if you remember oh, never mind, I'm not going there. So hopefully that answers that question. If not, I'm sorry. I can elaborate on that later.
No, you're not one I want to hear. Talk to you, because you'll just be in line with yes.
So,
I don't want to.
so you complain about board members not responding, but you only want to
Yeah,
hear
because the ones that you do reach out to, they don't. I don't care to reach out. I will reach out to Julie, to Tad, to these gentlemen that will actually be civil and talk to you and not just try to sway you one way or the other.
All right.
I'm not like that.
All right.
I want to talk to
Jeremy.
somebody that will tell me both sides.
Okay.
Public body comment.
The urgency, if I understand, the urgency of the stand-down order for the dive team was not just an insurance issue, it was a tort immunity issue, perhaps above all other issues. Without the founding documents, the establishment paperwork for that arm of the county, what was supposed to be an arm of the county, the team members would not have had tort immunity. Now, most folks probably know what tort immunity is, some probably don't, but if I understand correctly, tort immunity keeps a volunteer, an employee, a department head, an elected official, etc., from being held personally, privately, individually, financially liable. So, hypothetical situation, dive team goes to a call or a training, and God forbid a tragedy occurs, there's a lawsuit, lose the lawsuit, or you have to settle it, pay a settlement, or pay a judgment. Those members could personally, privately, individually be held liable and have to pay. Usually, when you have tort immunity, you get sued, you hand that over to the county because you were acting as an arm of the county, and the county takes up the lawsuit. But in this case, since there were no founding documents that could be obtained or provided or found, tort immunity was highly in question. And the dive team had a training scheduled for that Thursday, and I think final word from insurance, the attorney for the insurance company came in on Wednesday, and Mr. Ross, as the chairman of that dive rescue committee, looked at the situation and said, we have an insurance problem, perhaps more importantly, we have a tort immunity concern for the members of the dive team. And so they have a training tomorrow, and if tomorrow's the day that the tragedy occurs, those guys and gals are going to be in serious personal jeopardy. They'll be liable. And so the idea was to take them out of that personal financial harm's way until we could get a resolution passed, which we did in less than a week, to get them back in the water.
Your rescue squad don't have tort immunity, so what's the difference there with that?
If insurance, I'm sorry, do you want my answer this time?
The public does. I've
Okay,
got a lot of public people on here
I'm
asking
sorry, that was
questions.
small idea. I mean, I shouldn't have done that.
Not used to it.
Well, no, I actually was kind of hoping to get there.
Okay.
So because insurance covered that minor injury to the rescue squad person when they got injured, I think it was at a training, that means insurance has appropriate legal founding documentation that they didn't have for the dive team. So rescue squad is in a little better shape where that's concerned. Another thing that complicates that issue is the Rescue Act is a very long, wordy, complicated act in the law, whereas the Water Rescue Act is fairly short, simple, and easy to read. It's much more straightforward. So, and that Rescue Act is kind of a mess, and it's in the General Assembly right now. I think they're going to try to fix that in spring session. That was the last update that I got. But the rescue squad is not quite in the same position the dive team was for that reason. And so because insurance covered...
Are you blaming him?
Because insurance covered and they have founding documentation, that means tort immunity is much more likely to be there for them than it was for the dive team.
So you get to talk just as long as you want, is that right?
I do have something else, if you don't mind. I appreciate the clerk's comment about the payroll and the issues. I don't know of any payroll issue that has come from your office. But very quickly, I want to chronicle a few others. We'd had a forensic audit done on the payroll in the Sheriff's Department over a 5-year period. I will point out that was prior to current administration, but it showed $750,000, almost $750,000 worth of error, just in the payroll, just in one department, just in a 5-year period. A now former employee of the Highway Department was seen driving to work at 10 minutes after 7 one day, and when payroll time came, their timesheet indicated they were at work at 7 a.m. on the dot. That's kind of hard to do. A member of...
How long do you get to talk?
A now former member of the State Attorney's Office came to a full board meeting tonight. Mr. Chairman, if you would please.
Plus, you're not saying anything.
Jay?
A now former member of the State Attorney's Office came to a full board meeting to speak in public comment one time. And outside of the duties and responsibilities required of them in their filling of their role in the office. And when payroll time came, their timesheet had them being paid for being here to speak in public comment that was not required of their office, their position, or their department head. So that was another problem. A few years ago, again, under previous administration, an employee out of the treasurer's office, I believe, posted to social media out politically campaigning, and their pay showed that they were here at work for the taxpayer. Another one from the health department showed an employee posted to social media from the beach, and not the beach here, like the beach, Florida, South Carolina, I'm not sure where. And when payroll time came, their timesheet indicated they were at work. And so those are just 5 examples from 5 different departments. Some of them are ongoing problems, some of them are one-time things. I hope they were one-time things. But that tells me there was a systemic problem.
So he can talk
So
for
go to
20
the
minutes?
department heads and let them take care of it.
I mean, I
Ladies and
don't,
gentlemen of the
what's the
public,
rule?
he's answering questions. If you would please be quiet and be respectful. I have jurisdiction
I'd be
over the
respectful if
time.
I got to talk for 5
Jake,
minutes.
Jake, I have jurisdiction over the time. When he is a board member answering questions, it is expedient of me to allow the time.
That's all I've done is answer
5
questions
minutes
from the
means
public.
nothing.
I've not made a statement from just for me. I'm just answering questions is all. And I think that might have been it.
Okay. I had, Brad, you had your hand up?
Yeah. I mean, I'm kind of backing up Jessica here on this. Ever since this board took over, I feel like there's been a personal agenda on me. I'm not sure why. I mean, any job I've ever done in my life, I've been well respected. And I have been up until this board took over. And now I feel like I'm a piece of dog shit in the middle of the road. It's not funny, Jeremy. I'm going to tell you right now, you're going to piss me off if you snicker at me.
I'm not laughing at you.
You are. I'm telling you how I feel. That's the problem in here. Nobody listens to how anybody feels. Try being kind to people. Just try being kind. I don't understand why I'm getting this. I don't. Could somebody please tell me? Yeah. You know, I'm kind of getting singled out here. I mean, people in here know I am. I want to know why. Why don't you trust me? Why don't you trust me? What have I done wrong? Why are you guys saying what equipment I should have? Why is that?
Yeah, why?
That's no.
Please, Jake.
Okay, sorry.
Why are you doing that? What businesses of yours, what equipment I need?
Amen.
You got the treasurer sitting over here and you corresponding back and forth, snickering when people are out here talking. I just watched you. It's not funny.
I never even watched.
This was 15 minutes ago, but I noticed these things. It's disrespectful. I'm not. I understand. I'm sitting here getting angry. And I am getting angry. But y'all need to listen. I mean, what's been going on with me, you guys have the power. You do what you want to do. If you want to get rid of me, get rid of me. But I'd like to know why I'm being treated like this. And I don't want an answer before I completely freaking blow up. It's disrespectful. I feel like I'm being attacked. It needs to stop. Or let me go. One or the other. And then give me a reason why. That's all I got.
We want you here, Brian.
Thank you.
We want you here.
Senator Blue Shirt.
I was going to make a comment. I've never worked in government, so maybe it's not a problem. But working in industry, commonly you had to watch time clocks to be sure somebody else didn't hit someone else's time card. Sometimes accidentally, usually on purpose. And in industry, gentlemen, it's a dischargeable offense. That's all I have to say.
Good.
Anybody comment? Sir?
Well, I wasn't gonna speak, I was ready to get out of here, but. So we made an agreement with Leach Wilson, or the board did, the previous board, to buy a vehicle. The vehicle he needs, a vehicle he wants, it was handled, agreed upon, and the truck sits at Leach Wilson. And, you know, I've heard all the excuses, we have to go through this. We had an agreement with Leach Wilson, you know. The lady talked about, you know, companies want half their money up front. I can see why. I can see why, you know. The truck sitting over there, from what I hear, I don't know exactly, but I hear it's $1,500 more than whatever's been agreed upon for this Ford. And it's twice the truck. And I would think that if you guys really wanted to do what was best for this man, you would have found a way to get that truck purchased from Leach Wilson and the topper purchased that was agreed upon, and you'd have bought him the truck that he needs. But no, the previous board did something that was not copacetic, so we got to go buy a $1,500 cheaper truck that's not what he needs. As I said in a previous meeting, I've known that man 50 years. If he tells you something, that's the way it is. He worked with me, for me, and I know the job he does as a dog catcher and whatever animal control person. You're not going to find a better guy. Not going to find, and not just a guy, but the job he does for this county. And when he's telling you this is the truck I need, and you're just sweeping it under the rug, and you go to somewhere else and buy another truck because of, okay, maybe we're crossing the T's and dotting the I's, but I cannot believe that we could not have found a way to legally go to Leach Wilson and follow through on the commitment we made with those guys. I just can't believe that. He feels disrespected, and he feels like, you know, there's the truck I need. And it sits over there on the parking lot. As far as farming the farm, you know, Bobby, you alluded to the Constitution, and I think that Springfield has clarified the legality of that. I think there's 20 some other counties that look at that and believe that it's legal. I don't believe there's a judge in the state that would overturn us farming that farm. I think it's a political philosophy that you and some people have. It's not the political philosophy of the voters of this county. It's not the political philosophy of the citizens of this county. And it's certainly not going to be overturned if we decide to put seed in the ground next spring. There's nothing illegal and constitutional about it. I think it's been defined. I guess that's all I have to say. And I guess one other thing, the dive team situation and the titles and that debacle. I think I said in a previous meeting, I think the right thing to do would have been to sign that intergovernmental agreement with the city. I think the right thing to do would have been the equipment that belonged to that dive team to sign it over to them and let them go to work. A vast majority of that money for that dive team was raised through fundraisers. A small portion came from the county. But the benefit to the citizens of this county, I know you shake your head, but I know how much money was raised for that dive team. And a vast majority of it was from fundraisers and individuals who contributed, and some help from the county. But that dive team, the right thing to do would have been to sign that agreement, sign that equipment over, let those guys go back to work, and let's go on with our lives. I mean, that's the right thing to do, in my opinion. And those are only my opinions.
I got some time left, Bobby. Have I got some time left?
No. So, back to addressing several things that have been brought up. So neither the legislative or the public safety addressed an intergovernmental agreement because there never was one. There was a letter saying that we want to work together, but there was never ever an intergovernmental agreement. And I do believe the mayor of Shelbyville would attest to that. That was not an agreement, and I wasn't at there. So if we have no paperwork, how can we address it?
I voted for the city of Shelbyville, they sent it to you. So.
They sent it to me?
Yes. But I've seen lots of things and you haven't responded, so you may want to check your email.
Sent to the clerk would be guaranteed to hit.
I copied her in on your email, sir.
So that's just one thing. If there was one, we would have addressed it, even in two committees. I mean, this has been going on for months, so at least those committee members may have asked or looked or something. And then I heard something about the treasurer being at fault for not catching a wrong appointment. Well, that's in the Cemetery Act, and I'm sorry, but the treasurer has in the county's code her own series of statutes in the county's code. I don't think it's her fault that she didn't know that she needed to look for her responsibilities in the Cemeteries Act. But in the process of all this, we did find out that she does have a responsibility in the Treasurer's Act, or in the Cemetery Act. What else have I heard about? Oh, the farm. So the statute as it reads today says it can be leased to a private or public entity, which is actually something that can always be done, as long as the private or public entity had a public purpose. And so what we found out in the last few months is that through the P-Tax 300 form, when you apply for tax exemption on a parcel, explaining what your process is, then the Department of Revenue renders an opinion on tax exemption or not. That determination came back as in non-exempt. So that means we're still liable for the taxes. And we've gone through hundreds of times the implication of the taxes. So Custom Farm is breaching a tax issue. Leasing has its own issues. So as soon as you lease to an individual farmer, an independent farmer, a private farmer, you are taking away public access to that property. And they provide zero public purpose back to the county. Proving that zero public purpose back to the county is in the Custom Farm exemption. Because if the farm could be profitable to the county, they would have said that's exempt. But since they said it does not meet tax exemption, that means that the funds generated from a lease from a private farmer is also not tax exempt. Or not legal, basically. So there is much more to this, and the idea that I think we need to wipe that out of our heads, because I think gets us in trouble. I think indicates a mentality of sovereignty, and we can do what we want. The state law, the state constitution means nothing. The I think mentality is what has gotten us where we're at. Reading the statute and the Constitution, understanding it, reading the case laws that go along with it, AG opinions that go along with this. That's what we have to run by. That's how we fix problems. But using the I think idea, what's your opinion? It doesn't matter what I think, and not to be rude, it doesn't matter what you think either. What matters is what the law says, what the Constitution says, and that's where we roll out on this stuff. So, I'll digress. Back to public body comment. Yes, ma'am.
My name is Olivia Ross. I'm Sonny Ross's oldest of his 3 daughters. You don't see him when he comes home, beat down. 3 o'clock in the morning, he's trying to fix this mess. You don't see him when we don't get to sit on the couch and watch TV. He's trying to fix this mess, and all you guys do is come in here and yell at him. Okay. You yell at him, and he would be more than happy to explain some of this stuff. Call him. Schedule a lunch date with him. He will sit down with you and explain the dive team, all the titles, all of that. He's frustrated as much as you are. He's trying to fix this mess. If you want an answer, call him and listen. He will be more than glad to explain.
Thank you. Any other public body comment? Teresa? Sorry, I haven't looked mine up yet.
I want to speak to Brad Hudson and him being so upset. He's not the only employee in this county that has been as frustrated as he is tonight. This board needs to take some classes on people skills. Everybody sitting in here, me probably too. But I've been accused of, well, you talk to them, you talk to him. I talk to all the employees in this county. I listen to them. I'm with Jessica when she says those people report to me and I work for them. He works for this county, and to not give him the equipment that he has said, he's done that job for 12 years, that he needs to do the job, and now we're going to hire somebody to be his boss, that he's going to have to train to be his boss. It's beyond me, and Lori can read all the statutes she wants to me and everything, but I can tell you that I've talked to other counties, and they don't do it the way that we're making him do it, because I've talked to the counties around here. They don't all do it that way. And to see him so upset, if that doesn't bother the people in this room and the people on this board, there's something wrong. Because you've got long-term employees that really are frustrated. You've got people who have left. Jessica lost a girl in her office that could have run the office when Jessica wasn't there, and Jessica would tell you that. But she left. These employees deserve better. The deputies deserve better than what they've been treated. And unless we do something for that sheriff back there and his employees, we're not going to have to worry about people signing in and signing out and stuff like that, because we aren't going to have anybody to protect us. So this board needs to get our stuff together and try to figure out how we can work together and do better for the citizens of this county and the employees of this county. And one more thing. If you aren't doing anything on the 29th of this month, you might come into this room at 10 o'clock in the morning and see what's going on with me.
Everybody comment? Everybody comment? Yes, sir.
Barry Evans, and I'd like to know what is going on with getting a working dive team together. You guys have been elected to serve the people of this county. Doesn't sound like you're wanting to work with the city, although they're wanting to work with you. What is going on with the dive team?
Best my knowledge is being worked on. That's not enough to tell you. Sir?
To yield my time to Brad, we'd like to continue to talk.
There's no time to yield.
There isn't.
No.
I can't yield my time?
They took it away.
They took it away. Next board, I want to listen to the taxpayers.
Public body comment. Public body comment? Public body comment.
Are there any time left?
Negative.
I use 5 minutes.
You don't get 20 minutes.
There's no requirement for me to keep time. To record the time. I keep the time to keep things moving.
So you won't
I don't record
you
the
won't
time.
allow me to speak no more than you allow Brad to speak.
If you allow one, you have to allow one.
Public body
They
comment?
can talk for 20 minutes. That is the law.
Okay.
You're not a citizen.
Sorry, Kurt.
I've got one comment, and
So nice.
I think some of you will appreciate it.
You're not a citizen.
I doubt it.
I am a citizen.
Not a Shelby County.
Well, he didn't say
You
that.
don't have to be.
So, and Ms. Boehm, you made a comment before, and I want you to understand, I'm reading this because of what you said.
Okay.
And I've read this when Gina Vonderheide was the state's attorney. I read it when Nicole was the state's attorney. And I'm going to read it now. And I've read this very same thing at school board meetings, at county board meetings, at community college meetings and university meetings, because this statute is the same in all of them. Do not confuse the Open Meetings Act with this statute. When people say, oh, I know you don't have to answer questions. In some public bodies, like cities, they don't have to. But this is in the law, in the county code, at each regular and special meeting, which is open to the public, members of the public and employees of the county shall be afforded time, subject to reasonable constraints, to comment to or ask questions of the board. The legislative intent of that law was to what? Get answers. You have a right to ask questions, and these public bodies, subject to that law, have a duty to get you answers to the questions. If you doubt that, go ask Senator Ryder, who's now the school board president in Mattoon, who now is making them answer questions when the public asks. You have a right to get answers to your questions. It may not be immediate. It may take some time, but to streamline it, write them out. Hand them to them and say, I'd like to get some answers in the next 3 weeks or 2 weeks or 10 days. And when you do that, you will find that the assumptions being made is what gets us in trouble. We assume, because we don't answer, or we do answer and someone interprets it differently, get it in writing. How many times have I said, get it in writing? If you want a legal opinion, get it in writing. I don't care who your state's attorney is. Get it in writing. When you have it in writing, you can laugh all you want. When you get it in writing, you have now something that you can evaluate and dissect and hold accountable. You know what? That's for you, because you have a right to have an answer to your questions, as do you, Mr. Cole. That's all I have. Merry Christmas, everyone.
Thanks.
I'm going to write some out.
Public body comment?
You bet.
Be fine.
Public body comment. Public body comment. Motion to adjourn. Jeremy makes the motion. Is there a second? Don makes a second. All in favor say aye.